morning to all of you. I'm Dr. Nidhi Singhal. I'm Director of Global Institute of Technology. So I welcome all of you on this platform where we'll be addressing a couple of issues and the concern during this pandemic situation by the students. So ever since the lockdown period has started and this COVID is, playing with the life of the citizens and the globally across the globe and all. So we have been receiving concerns from the students, maybe at academics, maybe the safety, the placements, and the wide variety of issues which Global Institute of Technology has been addressing it through the webinars. So for this particular webinar, we have been, for the webinar series, we have been calling upon the top corporate people and the academicians who are addressing the students on various concerns raised by them. So now looking forward, when we see that the next batch is coming up, 2021 batch will be going into the final year, a major issue, a major concern raised by the students across the globe was the job placements. So what will be the future of this generation in terms of job and the career? So when we look for the career during this pandemic situation, GIT of course has been taking a step ahead in not missing the classes at all by conducting online classes and all. And today we'll be talking about the mindset of the students. They are really worried that are they really employable? Do they have enough skill sets which can make them a good employment? What job sectors will be available for them and what will be the future of engineering into various sectors? To address to this issue, we have got two renowned speakers. So our key speaker is Mr. Arun Singhal. He is a senior leader who has worked with leading IT companies like TCS and Accenture. In his last role at Accenture, he was responsible for the technology delivery for financial services for the European clients, having more than 8,000 people delivering services from Accenture Technology Center in India. Mr. Singhal has been in this industry for last 25 plus years, and he has primarily worked for banking and capital market clients in various geographies like Europe, US, Southeast Asia, and South Africa. He has significant experience in large and complex system integration and outsourcing service delivery for leading FS institutions globally. He has essayed various roles in technology delivery, program and project management, change and business transformation, and client relationship management. In the last 2 decades, Sir has been working with various engineering schools and universities to provide or give the advice and mentorship to bridge this industry academia gap to improve employability. For the same reason, we have been fortunate enough to, sir, that he has accepted our invitation to address to the students on this current topic, that what technologies will fetch the employment or the jobs for 2021 batch. Welcome you, sir, once again on this wonderful platform for a webinar session. In conversation with Mr. Arun Singhal, we have another entrepreneur, Mr. Mukesh Vyas, who is the managing director of Winner Academy of Excellence, who has been into training and other segments. He is a startup enthusiast, technology and management consultant, an engineering and MBA graduate from India. And of course, he has the industrial experience prior to internship with organizations such as PSUs, Infosys, Vodafone, and British Telecom. So welcome you, Mr. Mukesh Vyas, and thank you again for WAE for organizing this webinar for us. So before we go into the technical details, ask Mr. Arun Singhal sir to deliver his talk and all. I request Mr. Mukesh Vyas to run through this conversation with Mr. Arun Singhal, please.
Thank you, ma'am. And indeed, it's a pleasure being here with prominent personalities. And I would like to thank Dr. Nidhi Singhal for making this happen together with WAE and Mr. Arun Singhal for agreeing to deliver the talk on this topic. And we always wanted to make it interactive. And that's what we have been receiving a lot of questions from students. And we have amalgamated them into a theme. And I think one of the participants or aspiring participants of this webinar wrote a very beautiful question, that all the questions are already combined in the theme that you have given. So key technologies that can fetch you jobs in 2021. So that is the key premise. What are the key technologies that can fetch you the job? And that is where it all lies. So I think the theme would be the ground that would be like that Mr. Arun Singhal will be briefing us in around 15-20 minutes about the scenario. How is the industry behaving? And then we have crafted around 10 questions which deal about what are your feelings. So what we've done is we have made 10 questions which totally cover all the nitty-gritties that you all are thinking about. So without taking much ado, I would like Mr. Arun Singhal to start, and then we will be making an interactive. I will also be taking live questions. We are also live on FB through the pages of WAE as well as GIP. So we have a lot of people coming from live on FB. So those questions also we will be taking live, and also on this platform, all the participants can raise questions through Q&A section on their mobiles and devices that they have. So I think that's all from my side to make a start, and I would give all thumbs up to Mr. Arun Singhal so that he can brief us about the theme in first 15-20 minutes. It's over to you, Mr. Singhal.
Thank you so much, Mukesh and Dr. Singhal. Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be part of this interactive session. I won't call it as a talk. I would like it to be interactive and a two-way talk, so that the time we are spending together, we actually get maximum out of it. So I would strongly encourage the audience, the participant, actually to share, what is going on in their mind. I know there has been some feedback through the college to Mukesh in terms of what is that you are looking at, and especially post-COVID scenario. I'm sure a lot of apprehension, there are a lot of ifs. But before I really get into the answer you guys are looking for, right? I think it is very important for us to understand what is really happening from a technology perspective, right? You guys need to have a more broader view of the industry and the changes which are the evolution which is happening, so that when you start the journey, right? When the final year students, they start the journey this year, and the 2021 batch pass out, you know what is that you are getting into and what is the future looks like, right, for you. So before jumping into, I have put together some of the thoughts for this discussion today, and it would be good to set the context so that you understand the bigger picture of what is really happening. Okay, so let me share my screen. So, Mukesh, let me know once you're able to see it.
Yeah, sure.
You're able to see my screen?
Just give me a moment. I'm able to see. I'll make it live as well. Just. Yeah. You can go on.
Okay. So I think broadly, if you look at, right, I will start with probably, the world probably 20 years back and the scenario in the automobile sector. And the picture you see on the left, sorry, the picture you see on the left is a Bajaj Chetak scooter. So, see, there was a long wait. There was a very long wait to get a scooter in the country. Even up to 10 years, you have to wait to get a scooter. And look at what is the scenario now. After, say, 30 years, when there was a wait of 10 years, Now there's a scenario where you have actually number of models available, right? And rather than a wait, people will come to you. Okay, they come to you to deliver the products uh, at a price which they negotiate with you. So what essentially it means, if you look at is the product and the service life cycle has shrunk, which means that when there were times, few innovations, limited options, to a scenario where you have a lot of choices, right? And I'm talking about the same company, right? You look at the other example, okay? You look at how the e-commerce has changed the way we do shopping today, right? I'm sure the audience must be using Amazon, Flipkart of the world, and you look at the amount of volume these companies are doing, okay, in terms of the business. This number is from Flipkart, and Flipkart actually had about $18 billion turnover last year. What essentially it means is that technology has enabled to get into a business model where we actually take it for granted, right, when it comes to e-commerce. But the technology has played an important role in enabling this, right? Similarly, if you look at another example, left hand side you see is a picture of a famous bookstore in US, pretty large, a chain of bookstore, multi-billion dollar company, and you see a picture on the right with which actually is Amazon, right? Amazon, when they started with the business of selling books, right? So through these examples, if you look at, right, what is happening is there are new business model which are coming, and the traditional way of engaging with the customer, delivering services, delivering products, selling, buying, distribution, marketing, that is all changing. And in all these, technology has been playing a major role. These channels never existed, right? Probably this, most of the audience in this generation, they have not seen problem, they have not experienced, what was the world, right? Before, likes of Uber, Swiggy, Zomato, Amazon, all these came into play, right? And naturally, we see these actually channels, these companies, they play a very important role in our lives. Moving on, I think this is very important, and in a way, it addresses some of the questions which you have in your mind in terms of the employability, etc. But before that, you need to understand how the globalization actually is creating opportunities for country like us, India, and other countries, right? So when I started my career, right, in 1992, I did my BTech. So just to let you know that I am like you, like not, maybe I have some white hairs now, but I also started my career as a programmer way back in 1994. And if I look back, okay, 25 years back, IT had just started. IT in India was started where some of the developed countries, the organization over there, they were looking for talent, and they started experimenting with some of the companies here in India. Outsourcing had not started in a big way at that time. Uh, so when I passed out, it was like I did my BTech in computer science. So most sought after, I don't know why, because hardly any core IT. There were not many IT companies. TCS was doing some work. Infosys had just started. L&T, they had actually ventured into the IT business. But most of the companies which were coming was in the core industries, right? So when we were doing actually, like when the industry was growing, it was more the bottom of the V work we were doing. Okay, when I say bottom of the V, I'm sure some of you in the participants must be familiar with the software lifecycle, development lifecycle, and I'm talking about bottom of the V means lot more coding and testing kind of work, rather than high value added work where we actually get into the analysis, design, deployment, user acceptance, program management, project management, business analysis. Those were not getting delivered from India, okay, about 20 years back. And the industry matured, right? And we have come to a stage where pretty much everything is happening, okay? If I look at from a life cycle point of view, a software development life cycle point of view, people are engaged in program management, product development, analysis, design, architecture, everything. And you see some of these examples, okay, on the screen, where India is no more a destination for cheap labor, okay? If I use that term, but rather India is a destination for getting talent, and that's what is driving. If you look at the Fortune 100, 500 companies, to tap into the talent which exists in the country today. And you see some examples, be it Microsoft, be it Apple, Amazon, all these companies, they are exploiting, they are using, leveraging that kind of exploiting in a positive sense, okay, by the way. They're using that talent which is available, and it opens up a lot of opportunities, okay, for us. And if you look at the industry, from maybe 10-15 billion dollar export in 1994 to roughly about 150 billion dollar industry, it has become. It's a huge, phenomenal success, okay, and we have shown, okay, as a country, as professionals, we have shown then that we are not no lesser better than anyone else, okay. So I think important thing to note here is that there are ample opportunities. A lot of multinational companies, Indian companies, they know the talent which exists with us, and that actually will help you, okay, to remain focused on what we need to do. We'll come to the question, the top concern and apprehension which you have in the mind a bit later, but this context is very important for you to understand. Now, moving on, I think this industrial revolution also, from a context setting point of view, becomes very important. I am sure most of you would have heard about, hey, let's do a course in cloud, okay? Let's get into Python, let's go into this thing, cyber, or let's become an ethical hacker, right? There's a lot going on, and you must be wondering, what is, is all, I'm confused. I don't know what to do, right? Because I have only limited time and I can only pick up so much. Why there is so much of, all these jargons being thrown to me, and every person I talk to has a different advice, that I should do this. I hope that must have been the case. So I think for you to understand really what is really happening, okay, is to understand industrial revolution. So industrial revolution essentially is we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And what I mean by that is, and don't look at it from an IT lens. This is not a revolution from an IT industry point of view. This is the industrial revolution which has happened for us globally. So the first industrial revolution was the steam engine. Okay, the 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 machines which actually were running on steam engines, even the locomotives, the industries. But the key was the power you get from the steam. Okay, and you use that power to do a lot of other things. So that was the first industrial revolution. It happened around 1780, and then just one sec. Okay, I think I need to plug in my power. Just give me a sec. Sorry about this. Yeah. So second in the industrial revolution was the electrical energy. The assembly line came into picture. If you look at from industry point of view, and mass production. Okay. So if you look at from steam engine, we moved into electrical energy, mass production, more productivity. Moved to the third in the in around 1970s, where it was computers came into play, electronics, even robotics. That actually was part of industry 3. And today we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which essentially is cloud, machine to machine communication, IoT. All these actually encompasses industry 4, right? And that is what is, if you look at, is happening, whether it is 3D printing, RFID, leveraging AI, blockchain, all that into what we do. Okay, from a industry, and this is applicable to each and every industry. I'm sure you would have seen a lot of use case in manufacturing where AI is being used very heavily, even to an extent of checking quality. Okay, a Samsung plant in Korea, they use computer vision AI to test, the screen on your Samsung device. Whether is there any scratch, which probably not visible if you look at, but they actually using computer vision. They are actually making sure that when the customer they get the product, Samsung product, it actually doesn't have any of the defects. So if you look at these technology is what we are already in, right? Your Alexa, your Siri, a lot of other applications on your mobile devices. They're all using some of these technologies, and it has become very pervasive. Okay, on what we do. So I think this is very important. Okay, for you, this will last maybe for 30-40 years, and you will see all these technologies which you see on the left, right? The cybersecurity, IoT, blockchain, 3D printing. They are making inroads into the industries. Okay, into what the companies they deliver services to us. They will all embrace, and whosoever embraces these technologies fast, they will actually have a competitive advantage. They will be able to offer better products, better quality at a reasonable price, so as to increase their market share, right? Now, while we all know about these all these industry 4 technologies I talked about, but it's not end of the world here. Okay, there is a lot more happening on the emerging technologies, and if you look at the Gartner hype cycle, there's a lot of work happening on quantum computing. I'm sure you would have heard about, even Government of India has had a huge budget now. They have kept in 2020 budget roughly about 5,000 crore on actually doing work on the quantum computing side. People are talking about edge AI. They're talking about explainable AI, right? They're talking about biochips. Okay, so So you will see a lot more, and the pace of change, okay, the pace of change in technology has been increasing rapidly. What it took maybe 20 years, to come up for a technology to get mature, maybe it's taking the 5 years now, and maybe it will take 2 years down the line. Okay, so, and I'm sure you would have seen AI. AI is not a new thing. Okay, AI started in 1970s or 60s, but now it has become kind of a common use in 2020. So I think this is very relevant for all of you uh, to remain relevant. Okay, to keep your eyes and ear open in terms of what is happening, and also spend some time, make investment into learning new things. And this is not, I'm saying, for the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year. This actually is an ongoing process. You can't stop. If you have chosen technology as your career, then be ready for keep on lifelong learning. And that's very important, because the technology, as you know, has been changing very rapidly. And if you are not relevant to your clients, if you are not relevant to your organization, I think you will have a difficult time, right? So I think learning is very important, even going forward. Not, I'm saying in a one year horizon you have ahead of you. Now, coming to what Mukesh said in his own opening remarks, and I'm actually not answering to the question which he had, like in terms of top 3 technology. It's very difficult to be honest with you, after seeing the industry for over 2.5 decades. But I think what you need to really understand is, and you're all smart people, okay? You're all very connected socially, globally. Everything is available on the fingertip nowadays. I think you need to intuitively you will make out that data is becoming very important. Okay, uh, and you would have heard this term: data is the new oil, or data is the new gold. Okay, and you must be wondering, why, there's so much of hype about data and all that, right? So if you look at today, right, whatever we do, uh, it's actually all, it's because of the connected world. Uh, Whether it is actually running a successful marketing campaign, uh, which actually gives you a high return on investment, the progressive companies are using data. Okay, they are actually targeting their customer, so that they can actually offer customized offering, rather than spending so much money on sending that offer to everyone. I'll give you an example. Okay, just imagine a scenario that you have a company which employ you, and they say, I want to have a very effective marketing campaign of promoting my software product. I have a software, the company has a software product on, say, HR systems, and they say, you need to run a campaign so that we actually get a lot of leads. Now, one very simple, crude way is that you actually have big ads on the newspaper. You actually publicize on the channels. You actually have presence on the digital marketing, digital front, social front, SMS, email, and all that, right? Now, how do you identify who are my target customer, right? So that when I spend money on marketing, the message reach to the audience who are really interested in that product. So that is happening through data analytics, right? The recommendation engine of any of the e-commerce website, they use AI and data. Okay, they tell you, I'm sure you would have seen, when you buy something, they will tell you that people like the one you are buying, people who buy this, they also looked at the other things. They are actually making a recommendation to you, right? So look at, right, a lot happening, okay, on the internet in a minute, and all this actually is fueling various engines. It's fueling various engines to drive the maximum value out of it, right? So data is playing an important role, and I strongly believe that it will play a major role going forward as well, in terms of the user experience, offering better product and whatnot. So I think you just hold this thought of that data becoming very central, and it will actually be very, very important, going forward from a career point of view. So I'm just giving you some themes, okay, on areas which you need to focus on and which actually have some longevity, right? And I say longevity is that it actually offers you a career growth for at least 5 to 10 years if you really do well in those areas. So data definitely is one good theme, broader theme, and of course, we can go into other areas as well. Now, this is very important, okay? This is very important for all which is going on in your mind in terms of, what is going to happen, okay? What is going to happen to me, to the job market, to the economy, and whether, there will be a lot of reduction in the jobs, post-COVID, during COVID. So I think it's a very, very, very difficult times, okay? But I think you must remember, okay? You should remember that it's very difficult to really say for sure that what is going to happen going forward. But one thing is very clear, and I'm actually a born optimist, is if you just look at some of the earlier pandemic, okay? The earlier pandemic, the recovery has been sort of between U and a V curve. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the V curve, okay, what we have seen in the last 3 months, particularly if you look at from the economy or from the market point of view, there has been a sudden drop, right? If you look at the stock exchange, the indexes, the demand, when people giving, about the GDP growth in the last 3 months, exports, imports, they've all gone down. But in similar pandemic, the recovery has been very fast. Okay, it actually is, between U curve or the V curve. U curve typically is that it takes some time. It could be a couple of quarters or maybe 1 or 2 years, and then you see actually a significant kind of a rise to the economy in general. And when I say economy, I essentially means that it actually opportunities, growth, increase in salaries, bonuses, and whatnot. So SARS, I'm sure some of you would have heard about it. Like if you look at, there was another, I would not call it pandemic, but in Asian countries, particularly, it was more China, Hong Kong, some of these countries. There was a similar flu-like pandemic, SARS, which started in 2003 and all. And if you look at that pandemic, though it was very localized to some of those countries, fortunately and luckily it didn't spread to many countries at that time. But if you look at after that, there was actually a V-shaped recovery in those countries, and also that opened up a nearly new front doors where Chinese and Hong Kong people, they started buying and leveraging e-commerce as a channel. Now every such situation result into something new. Okay, that is what, like, you know, we say necessity is the mother of all invention, right? So when this was happening, the e-commerce started there in a big way, right? So this actually, what I'm presenting and showing to you is a 2022 skills and job outlook. Okay, uh, the left picture, which is in black gray color, you see the skills which are declining, and this actually was before COVID. Okay, so but you must remember that the skills which are declining, probably now it will accelerate further. And what I mean by that is that they will actually uh, be diminished, okay, more rapidly than it was before. Post COVID, these jobs actually are more prone to get eliminated. And what you see on the blue side, on the skill side of it, is what will grow, okay? What will grow, like, even post COVID and for next few years. And the declining one is all like, you know, manual, anything manual, right? They were all, you know, it's will be gone. Whether it is industrial, whether it is IT, like manual testing, you know, even. And what will grow is, you know, your analytical thinking, right? Your data skills, right? Design and programming, critical thinking, analysis, leadership, you know, your social skill, they become very, very important, okay? Emotional intelligence. And the right hand side, if you look at, is what you see top 10 emerging jobs, which, you know, I explained and put a lot of emphasis on data, right? The number one which is coming is data analysts and scientists, AI and machine learning specialist. You can Google it, okay? This is not my creation. This actually is what World Economic Forum is saying. Okay, you see journal and operation managers, software and application developer and analysts. These are the jobs which actually, and the good news is 133 million. Okay, and declining is 75. So net, the future is bright, right? It's not gloomy, dark, but some of you may be feeling, because we are in pressing times, and this is natural, okay? But this time also will pass. This is what I believe in. I think we need to be strong. We need to have conviction, and this will actually open up newer opportunities. I'm saying globally, okay? So I think remain positive. This actually present a very good view of the world going forward. And another good news is that we have a very bright future. Okay, if we do well in it for industrial 4 revolution, if we tap it correctly, uh, you know, India has a lot to gain. And what these actually bubbles show is that we have a potential to become bigger than some of the cities of India have a potential to become bigger than the GDP of these countries. So I'll take a pause here, okay, Mukesh, and hand it back to you so that we can cover the other aspect. I hope that this has set the context from a larger context point of view, so that when the students they get into the corporate world, they understand the context, because you are not going there for 2 years, 3 years, right? You have a long future of 25, 30 years. And you need to be running these corporations, like these companies, going forward in your careers. Back to you, Mukesh.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Anjan. I think it was an eye-opener. It was quite an eye-opener for all of us, and it was really setting the context. And that is one thing which I think students should just listen. And I think the key statement that I can take is data, the new gold, and that's the new oil. So I think you gave a very good theme that they should try to build their career around that theme. One theme is that we all got from you was data-driven technology. So I think students, the first thing that you could have heard from Mr. Singhal, an industry veteran, that data-driven technology. So data is the new gold, and you need to mint it, and that's what is very, very important. So you all need to focus upon data-driven technologies. And in this background, I will have the first question of the day, and that's what, because you should not miss the opportunity that we have with Mr. Singhal. The first question is, in present scenario for a student aspiring in software jobs, as so the first question was about in the next 3 months, if you want to say give an advice to a person who is maybe say not having any background as of now, so what would be your advice? Which field he can start in a scratch, and can you guide a path for 3 to 6 months? I think most of the students look for an objective suggestion that in next 3 to 6 months, what is a technology where a person can start from scratch, learn with his hard effort.
Great.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So I think the key is to, for short-term focus, my recommendation would be there's a lot of demand in front-end technologies. Okay. When I say front-end is you look at app development, you look at even your website development. I'm actually grouping them all together because if you really look at the businesses which were not digital, right, before COVID, they would actually go digital. So there will be a lot of demand coming in that area, and that will continue for some more time, right? When I say some more time, is next couple of years. So one area definitely I strongly believe is front-end technologies you should actually focus on. The second area I would recommend is on data science. And data science I am using actually more broadly. It has data engineering into it. It has data analytics into it, data visualization into it. So you start by picking up one or two areas. And good would be if you have a strong foundation on any programming skill, I would recommend you pick up Python as a language, and don't just have a tick in the box, guys. I can tell you, I have a very large network with my colleagues, ex-colleagues, my friends, and other industry connects. There are a lot of demands even today, believe me. But what is missing is the depth. Okay, so second area, as I said, is data, and third area, and this is more, I will not say short term, but medium to long term, is cyber security. Because a lot of data consumption we have seen in COVID days. Even people who are not connected to, they became user, whether it is Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, whatnot. They have started actually seeing the power of web connecting to the world, and they will actually be more exposed, and so is lot more transactions which are gonna happen. Okay, so these are the three areas, Mukeshji, I would suggest to students to focus on, and key would be to build depth. I think that will really help. Okay.
I think that's the key. And as I have always been saying to students, there's a triangle that we call it for software aspirants. The triangle talks about three things, which is to add upon, where he said the first is competitive coding, which will help you everywhere. That's what is very important because you need to solve problems in this world. Second is Python, which he said very perfectly. And the third is maybe the full stack development, which will include a lot of things, which I talk about. But I think he has given three answer is those three things he said was front-end technologies, which you can have any of the technologies that are available, then it's data, and the third one that he talked about was cybersecurity, which is going to be a case. And I think we all know how Zoom was affected by a bit of viral marketing because people were saying it's not secure, and even who didn't understand the term cybersecurity were saying Zoom is not secure. So that is what it talks about. And one thing is we need the depth. That is the critical thing. And how do we need the depth is it is not a, there's one question of Dimple Jaiswal, which we will, I think, take here itself, that are certificates important? People are collecting a lot of certificates. So we say that skill is important, and skill is something which makes you earn. So if you earn by something, you can call it a skill. So it should be earning and learning combined, giving you a job, then you call it a skill. And that's what is more important than the certificates. Very well said, I think. And we have the another question. A lot of questions were already answered in the theme that you prepared, Arunji, and I think that's why I'm skipping those questions. For example, there was a question on longevity, and which you already included in your presentation. Now, the next question that I think comes to us is very important, that in what would be the industry expectations from fresh software professionals in present scenario? How can students prepare themselves in addressing these expectations? So here it's more about attitude and what all you're looking for, what is industry looking for in these individuals in terms of maybe behavioral skills, in terms of technical skills, in terms of maybe other aspirations that industry has from the batch 2021.
Great. No, it's a great question. And not that I knew about this question from you guys, but whenever I connect with the students, okay, I have a slide on that, okay. I will just use that, okay, as a reference and then talk about it. So just give me a sec, okay. Yes. So if you look at, you know, this, I love this slide, okay, because this is based on feedback which when I was in the corporate world, okay. Even now I am actually running my own company, IR4 Tech, my own startup. Even during TCS days and the time I spent in Accenture 12 years, you know, my managers, senior managers, you know, they used to come and give feedback when, you know, we talk to the other colleagues in the industry, in TCS, in Infosys, you know, all these places. There was some constant feedback, okay, which I will call it as an expectation from industry and what is not happening, okay, on the right hand side. Now, the expectation from the industry, I think is, I don't think it has changed significantly, okay. Like if you look at, I have been sort of part of the campus program team in Accenture, and we were actually going to the campuses to select, you know, the fresh engineers. The focus was very clear, okay. In all the big companies, if you look at, the focus is very clear. With most of the companies, they are looking for engineers with a strong foundation, okay. I think Mukeshji talked about, you know, the competitive programming. So the focus and what they are looking for essentially is that a student has a strong foundation on operating systems, programming language, and data structures. This is actually is very important, okay. It's not that, hey, I know Java, I know C++, I know Python, but I know only a little bit. I'm jack of all, master of none. It doesn't help, and that is what has been a common theme which actually comes when, you know, when the students, they appear for these campus placements, that they have actually probably one page full of skills they know, right? But if you just ask simple questions, basic foundational level question on core languages, they struggle. Most of the students, they struggle. So I think it's very important. C++, for example, which is part of your curriculum, data structure, which is part of your curriculum, you build very strong foundation on these. Okay, and this actually is my view, my experience, as well as what is the expectation from the industry, IT industry. Okay, now the other expectation is that, hey, you have a strong foundation, but you also have got some exposure, some sort of training in the industry 4 skills, whether it is AI, big data, cyber security. Nobody is expecting you to be expert. Okay, we all understand that it's a very busy curriculum, your own, like your academic curriculum. But what the expectation is that when the world is moving that way, and that shows how much hunger you have for learning. Okay, uh, that yes, you feel that these skills are important, and you have invested time in developing some skills. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is it should not be just remain theoretical. Okay, like Mukesh said that I see people. Okay, I see freshers. They approach us, even our startup, and they say, I have done certification in 5 different areas. Okay, so I have done in BI, I have done in Python and whatnot. But again, what is there is all theoretical certification, like theoretical knowledge, but that theoretical knowledge has not been leveraged into building some live projects. And I strongly recommend you guys, you have, I think, good about a year, and if there are participants from the second year out as well, guys, you have a long runway. Please spend time in doing some live projects. Okay, don't deliver or submit projects just for the sake of getting your assessment done. Don't buy projects from the market. Okay, you can buy, there are a lot of people who will sell project reports, code everything to you, and then you will submit and the life goes on. But I think it's a time to ponder and ask yourself honestly that, am I doing justice to what I am looking for, in my career from the industry point of view, right? So 3 things I will not complicate the whole stuff. A strong foundation, bit of icing on the cake, I would say, of getting some exposure to AI, machine learning, whatever you are, you feel you have your passion for. Work on live projects. Okay, and last but not the least is the soft skill. Okay, whether it is your communication part, your team working, your emotional intelligence, all that, is very important for you to be successful, in any services business you get into or any operational jobs you get into. So that's how I will summarize, what the expectations are from the industry and what we need to, like, you need to focus on in the next, I would say, 6 to 9 months, so that you acquire something, you develop some skills, which is what industry is looking at, from you. Back to you, Mukesh.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Arunji. And I think now the next question is, there are a lot of students from mechanical and civil background. And we all know that before COVID, a lot of things were happening in this space as well, that electric vehicles industry was picking up like anything. And 4.0 manufacturing, which is the core part that you touched as well. And so I think what we wanted to understand was the question for mechanical and civil engineers. So they should focus upon their core jobs because they're very less in number. Or they should also try to compete with software engineers by building some skills around Python or something else. So a word of advice from your side on this, Arunji.
Yeah, great. So I was expecting this. And see, guys, this my initial thoughts, which I shared with you, was not meant for computer science, IT, electronics branches. It was more broader. And when I talked about 4th industrial revolution, this is applicable to each and every industry. So even if your specialization is in mechanical engineering and you start your career with core industries, it is very important for you to understand how you can leverage industry 4 skills and technologies in those industries as well. So these technologies are as relevant to you as is relevant to the CS, IT and electronics branches. Because if you look at 3D printing, right? 3D printing is very relevant to mechanical engineering. If you look at mechatronics, when you combine mechanical with robotics, right, and electronics, this actually is important for any industry you work in. So I'm talking about the core mechanical industries. And the other suggestion I have is that don't look for that. Hey, I don't know much, right? I my branch is mechanical, my branch is civil, and I need to now compete with the CS guy. If you look at the companies, whether it is an IT company or any other industry, right? Whether it is mechanical, automobile, electrical, what they are looking for again is the right attitude, right? And a very strong fundamentals. Because see, you have 30 years of your professional life you will be putting in any industry you work on. So my recommendation would be that you should start also exposing yourself in acquiring skills which I talked about. It's not a rocket science. Python is not meant for computer science engineering graduates only. Okay, Python is as applicable as to other industries as well, and that is what is happening. The example I gave of Samsung, right? If you look at other industries also, they are looking at all these technologies very, very seriously. And you actually rather are better positioned than an IT guy because you understand the domain. If in your manufacturing process, if you have to leverage AI, probably you are better placed than a pure software guy because you understand the thermodynamics, you understand the machines, everything. So my recommendation, Mukeshji, to all the participant and audience is that I strongly believe life is a learning process. Okay, you have this 4 year. Okay, if you are starting, like this year as engineer or you already in 3 years, you best utilize this time. This time you will never get back, and this is a fantastic time with your friends, colleagues. Have fun, right? Like have a right balance. I'm not saying that hey, you become a bookworm. Have your passion, in terms of hobbies and whatever you pursue those, but strike a right balance so that important thing is we are already in the 4th industrial revolution. Okay, that is granted, right? That is already there. Now you can make it out. You can easily make it out that all industry will be requiring IoT engineers, robotics engineers, data scientists, all these. When we talk about machine-to-machine communication, there's a huge component of cybersecurity in it. How do you make sure that the data is encrypted, doesn't get leaked, and all that? And that will actually, be the case going forward. So I strongly recommend the 3 themes I talked about will actually offer a lot of opportunities even for other branches as well. It's not difficult. They can easily pick it up in the next 6 to 9 months time. There are ample opportunities on these areas, and they can use those actually in their core area, the core specialties.
Thanks a lot, Arunji. I think that really answered the question. And now, taking one live question, there is from Cherry Partney. She says that how do you see the future of AI and IoT after this pandemic with the Industry 4.0? In which direction it may move? What opportunities will be there for youth generation? So AI and IoT, what's the way ahead? Will it grow like earlier? Will it be the hotbed that it was. So how it would be?
See, my view is that there will be a lot more focus on the automation in general post-COVID. Every organization who has been impacted, like all of us were impacted. When I say all, it's all globally, everyone, every single human being got impacted because of COVID-19. Whatever measures got taken by different governments across the globe. Now, you just think about that you are a CEO of Apple. Okay, the person who's asked this question, I am asking that person to, for a moment, assume that you are running Apple as the CEO, right? And you have seen the last 2 months, COVID, which was like, unheard of, unimaginable, right? No one ever would have thought about that something like this can happen to the world, right? Now, tell me, you are a $1.4 trillion economy. You are running that company. What would be your focus for the next few years as a company? Because you want to remain number one, right? You want to increase your market share. You want to remain number one. The immediate priorities for all these companies is business continuity, which essentially will drive a lot of demands from automation, adoption of AI, okay, IoT, because, and don't think it from a job reduction point of view, because I'm sure some of you must be thinking it would mean that there will be reduction in the jobs because the manual will go away, but the new opportunity will open up with other skills. So automation, lot more companies will spend huge money on automation, leveraging AI into what they do today. So this is my view. That is a very bright future. Even if you look at during the COVID-19, a lot of use cases got developed. Not only from our data analytics and forecasting point of view in terms of number of cases and all that, but also I'm sure you would have seen even one guy from India only. He started actually analyzing the X-rays of people to forecast whether that person is a suspect of COVID-19 using AI. So the role of AI in every industry, right? Like I'll give you a very relevant example. The doctors today in the COVID-19 and especially in Delhi, I'm talking about the leading hospitals, for the journal consultation, they are also leveraging technologies like what we are using today. Now that is more for an interaction point of view. And there are some companies I have seen, they are actually working very hard to digitizing the various other artifacts as part of your medical process, whether it is your X-ray, your lab report, etc. And what will, you can guess it, yourself. Once this actually data is available in a digital form, you can apply AI. So imagine that I have some problem, right? I am actually maybe running a fever, and this is not a corona, this thing, right? General I'm saying. And I go to a lab. The lab is connected on the same platform. The lab will actually post my result, of course, with all the controls, data privacy and everything. I actually undergo a X-ray done, an ECG done, or whatever test, and those tests are available in a digital form on that platform, and the doctor are able to see it. Now, the start has already happened, okay, and this is not Corona start. This started a couple of years back, but what actually has started now is AI is playing a major role in analyzing all this data. So what they're doing is they're actually giving an insight to the doctor. They're saying, hey, I have got this report from Arun, and this is what I feel, okay? And then the expert, the specialist can actually get deeper into. So I personally am very bullish on AI. That was the AI and IoT, and you will see a lot more happening. even during the corona, because corona we have to live with it, right? This is not going to go down or die, in the next couple of weeks. So this has become part and parcel of our life. We need to be taking precautions, on whatever we need to do in terms of social distancing, hygiene, and all that. So we have to live with it for next foreseeable future is my view, and that doesn't mean that the world will stop here. Uh, the innovation actually we are kicking in, and of course all the companies are there looking at going cheaper, better, faster. So cheaper, better, faster was the case earlier, will be the case going forward as well. Back to you, Mukeshji. I hope it answered the question.
Yeah, I think it answers very well. And the key statement that I can take out from your I think detailed prescription is that we should start solving business problems and develop our projects in such a way that they address business problems. As you talked about that person, I also read about that he was referring to X-ray data and then predicting, so predictive analysis was there. So that is the same. Can we start solving business problems? And so that way we will be having a pull type of attraction in our profile so that people will be attracted to hire us. So students, the key is make yourself a profile which can be pulled by recruiters rather than pushing yourself. So that is a key. And I think COVID, so people talked about post-COVID and all, it is amidst COVID. So we are living with the COVID. And I think that's one change over last 2-3 months. Everyone was talking in this webinars, post-COVID, and the transformation it is along with the COVID. So COVID is another, what you can call situation that is with us. So we have to live with it. So we will have to think with it. We have to propose solutions in this scenario. Okay, now I wanted to ask one question to Dr. Nidhi Singhal because we have an academic expert as well. So I and Arunji were talking in industry parlance from last 60 to 70 minutes. We also wanted to understand an academician's perspective, what she thinks is the right mix for the candidates and what is the readiness that GIT has in the present scenario. So over to you, ma'am, for answering to us.
Yeah, thank you, Mukeshji. So after listening to the insightful session from Arunji, I believe most of the things make us confident that whatever he advised, we have been more or less following that path. So that brings a confidence in us that we are on the right track. So whether post-COVID, during COVID, I guess the working never stops. So what we have been inculcating with our students, we focus more on the skill sets because we do not produce engineers merely by degree, we design engineers. So they need to understand the basic difference that engineers by design and engineers by degree. So whatever is their understanding with the topping of skill sets, the desired skill sets in technical domain as well as in the soft skill part. So perfect blend of that will definitely give them a better platform to showcase the talent and get hired by top MNCs. So if we talk of domain specific, number one, we have started making our students understand very well that stop talking about the branch specific because rightly said by Arunji that it's all about interdisciplinary thing. We cannot go for a standalone mechanical engineer or a standalone computer engineer. A perfect blend of two will definitely make them understand that how a true engineer will perform into an industry. It's not only limited to hiring by a corporate, it's all about retaining with the corporate and going along with good growth in the organization. If we talk of computer science, engineering and all, definitely AI, machine learning, Python, these are the, I believe this is more of a tool which everybody should be well acquainted with. I remember a case, Mukeshi, when there was a person from Korea. He was a musician and he could align his dancing steps with the piano beats using the technology of AI. He was not a science graduate or an engineering graduate, a purely an arts person. If he can go for AI, then definitely it's an integration of the technology into various domains which will help. COVID has wonderfully taught us one lesson that engineering and the technology is one thing which will never fade away from the world. The more you perform, the more you train yourself in the technology, there are better prospects of growing in this world. The things are gonna worse, but that is not, again well said, not the end of everything. Things will again re-evolve. We also inculcate entrepreneurial skills in the students, which they understand the business model of it. Until unless a student understands the business model, we have a startup school. Business model does not mean they have to start their own business, but until unless they understand how they can be fruitful for an organization, understanding the business part of it, they won't be that productive. And then lastly, we believe, like with WAE, we again, they have been training our students on soft skill and aptitude. The attitude, the aptitude, the conversation, the communication. Technical communication is very, very important. And even the content writing does not come until unless you have that flavor of writing or not. So these are the tools, irrespective of domain. Like for civil, we are doing BIM. We are the only college in the state who have been identified by the ministry, by the government of India, and now we'll be setting up a cyber security defense research lab. That is one thing which goes to a credit, because students are already going for a training on the cyber security. You very well quoted the example of Zoom. So our students are very well versed with all these technologies, and they understand that with the common problem with most of the students is not the learning part, the unlearning part. They learn something in initial years and they start forgetting in the later years. That is becoming very detrimental. So it's a gradual process that we're following with them, starting from day one till they graduate, and even post their graduation. This is how we are building up a platform, and this is, I believe, will be successful, and we're confident enough that our students will really excel. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. So I think the students, that's the key when we hear from industry as well as academia, that you need to be, I think, as Arunji also said, that the rules have not changed. Flexibility, dynamism were the rules and will be the rules. I still remember my Infosys recruitment days, and so where we always thought, we always at the end checked the flexibility of a candidate. Can you work across all the development centers in India? We wanted to, this was a mandatory question we needed to check, just to ensure the flexibility and the dynamism that candidate offers. Is he or she adaptable? So I use a term called FAT, which is flexible, adaptable, and trainable. So these rules will never change if you are flexible and you can work in dynamic aspects, then you need to be adaptable to the situation. COVID is just testing our adaptability. Can we change to it? And then the last but not least, are we trainable? And I think the very key point of learning and unlearning was provided by Nidhi ma'am, and that's really important. Can we unlearn? That's the key that is not happening. I will just give an example on a closing note. There was one of a friend of mine. He was IIT Mumbai graduate. Remember 96 or 97 IIT Mumbai graduate. He got an AIR of 350, which is like anything. So he was a Java expert. Now he thought that I'm not being, after 17 years of experience, he thought that I'm not being paid adequately. So what he said he did was, let me resign. And so in overconfidence, he resigned in the month of maybe say March 2019. And because the company where he was already employed, they were not agreeing to the hike that he was, because our student, why I'm talking in terms of economic parameters, students mostly understand the package terms. So when you talk to them about the package terms, they understand it like anything. So the point was, so that person, maybe he was at 35, 40 lakhs per annum package, but he thought that after 17 years of experience, I expect I at least deserve 60 to 70 lakhs. He was thinking that. So he resigned without anything in his hand. And my dear friends, because he was in a Java architect, so Java, if you see the graph of the technology, so Java is on a downward curve, as we were talking about. As you can understand, in the whole 1.5 hours of talk, we didn't use this word Java and what we use. So that shows that technology is a little bit on a downward curve. Now, so that person had to wait for 1 year to unlearn the things and then learn. He had a big brand, IIT brand was there, IIT Mumbai CS. Then 16 years of experience in all the big MNCs. But then also he had to wait for 1 year and he had to join on the same package. That is the crux. That's the ground reality. So we need to unlearn at right times. So unlearning at right times is the key. So I think that's on a positive note. And there was one question which I think we three will answer mutually. Students are worried about firing. So I think they should not worry about firing. As Arunji said, hiring will happen. Be positive, and it is already there. People are looking for right candidates. So have skill, have learnability, earnability, learnability will come automatically. That L is very important. Think of learnability, earnability will come by its own.
I'll give you
Yeah.
a very example just now. Okay, even we are looking for a strong Python developer, simple Python but strong developer. Okay, my team has interviewed 5 candidates so far. Not even a single one has been able to pass that. Okay, so I think I think Dimple had posted a question, and
Yeah.
you know, again, what is missing, and I think Dr. Nidhi Singh also stressed upon that, is the practicality of what you are learning. Okay, because see, theory is only will take you so far, but it's a very competitive world. Okay, and a very open world. Now, I know it's very natural to be apprehensive, worrying about whether what will happen to my future, etc. But one thing I can tell you for sure is, if you have skills, people will come to you. Okay, so I think you need to earn that sort of thing. It will not come automatically. So all the good thing which is happening in GIT, I'm very glad that you have this cybersecurity research lab, right? Fantastic opportunity for you guys. You have that in the campus, and with all the resources, right? And that support available within the campus, you should exploit that infrastructure and then build something which is useful, right? Which works. It should not be a model, a hobby kind of a project. Let me tell you, on anything which you do, even if it is small, actually you should be able to work in a real life scenario, right? We are looking for some interns, right? Like final year interns, we are looking for in my startup. Happy to have some of those guys who can work on the real life projects. Okay, like the problem which we are dealing, working for our clients. They have to make the solution which works, outside the lab, right? It's not a POC. The POC will only take you so far, right? Because you may have copy pasted from GitHub, right, and all that, which is a good thing. I don't want you guys to reinvent the wheel, but then you should know what you have copied. Okay, you should know each and every line of that code, what that code is doing, and if you have to tweak that code for a specific purpose, you know how to do it. So I think certification, as Mukeshji said, rightly said, I think Dimple was asking that. I'm seeing the chat window. It is of limited purpose. Okay, nobody look at it. Your certificate. It actually just assuring. It gives the assurance that yes, this person has done something. But the litmus test is, if I give you a problem, you are able to solve that problem. If you say I am good in it, okay. If I say, I am good in Python, I should be able to then code, given a use case in a couple of hours. Then it means yes, I am good, right? So that is what, you should be known for something. I would strongly recommend, and that was my message when I was in the corporate world to my teams was, and in fact, I not only preach, even I am doing actually an ethical hacking course myself. So I am actually writing that exam in a couple of months. So I need to, I have passion for that, and I think that cybersecurity is a great area. So I am actually a student even now. I need to know, because it's not that I know everything. So technology is changing. There are new opportunities opening up, and I need to be closer to the subject. And if I'm not closer, I remain at a very high level. That only help to an extent. Back to you, Mukeshji.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I think Arunji, and that's what superficial learning will not help us. We need to walk on ground. Only talk will not help. So that is what is the message from the session. And so over to you, Nidhi ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me conclude. So Arunji, that was a wonderful, insightful session. Students could understand what are the challenges they are facing, what are the technologies they need to work upon. Because even when we get companies for hiring, they're open for all the branches. They just share the profile. Even I've seen companies like Amazon and other companies who the only platform they give is a coding. And even language is not a barrier. You can code in anything you know, maybe in C or Java, Python, whatever you want. You can code in any language of your choice. And I've seen mechanical engineers writing beautiful programs, beautiful coding in comparison to people from IT and CSE. So this is a mindset and a perception which need to come out of the cocoon and understand technology is not dependent on a branch specific. These are all the open sources. So we have created wonderful IT infrastructure because we believe IT is a tool which is must for everyone. Physical infrastructure is definitely required. And yes, I'm